Chester Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Moore coming to you from Beloved City of Atlanta, Georgia. In Eugene, great finals appearance. My guy Jaylen Brown brought it home here to, I guess to say Metro Atlanta. I'm not really right at Atlanta because we didn't go to school right in Atlanta. We went to school in Marietta, Metro Atlanta, but Jaylen Brown bringing that home. I also brought home that finals MVP, man. I wasn't unexpected going in,
right?
But kind of as expected coming out of it, because if you watch the finals, I mean, he was clearly one of the best players there, if not the best, most consistent player there for the Celtics.
True.
Takeaways for me, I'll just give you like the broad takeaways from the finals for me. Nothing to see here, kind of like I was surprised that Dallas even got here.
Yeah.
Thought there would be a slightly bigger challenge, maybe win maybe 2 games. I didn't pick them to win, but maybe 2 games they can get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
If they played up to a certain level, I guess. But you look at the teams they beat, and I think that's the reason why I really felt like they would have a little bit better showing. They beat like 350 win teams like that. Let's go down the list, right? Because they go through OKC, which is the first seed, right? Then they go through Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, they were what, second seed? What Minnesota was?
Yep.
Second seed, so another 50 win team there, and they're beating these teams on their way to this moment. And you're really thinking that, well, maybe they can get out a couple games here and there. I didn't really have them winning, but I thought that maybe it would be a little bit better than what I saw. This was pretty much, I mean, a gentleman's sweep, and it was pretty much gentleman's sweep in every sense of the word, because they lost the one game badly, but the other games, Boston just seemed clear and cut better team in every other game. So this is really, I would like to say that something shocking happened here in the finals. Nothing out of the ordinary for me. What about yourself here?
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the last series, and let me make sure you get that right. So OKC was number 1, Denver was 2,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota was 3. I want to make sure we got the seating right there.
So OKC, Nuggets, Minnesota 3, and all 50 win teams, I think, right?
Yeah, and plus they beat the Clippers too, right? And Clippers, I'm looking right now, we're a 51 win team. So I mean,
3 50 win teams they beat on the way here. Yeah, you can't. I mean, that's nothing small to sneeze at right there. I mean,
right, and it looked like beginning of the year, right? I mean, the Clippers went through that run where they looked like the most dominant team in the league. But yeah, I mean, if you look at last series. Because we all thought, okay, whoever beats, we all kind of thought, and I'm very guilty of this, is we thought whoever beat Minnesota beating Denver. Well, that to me was the finals, right? Or the Western Conference Finals, and that's going to be the team who's going to go to the finals. Well, if you look at the way Denver's, their role players played a little above their skis, right? Average, PJ Walker out of his mind in that series, a lot of the bench guys out of their mind, and just couldn't sustain it, and it's kind of hard when you have a better 5, you like Kyrie and Luka cannot have a bad game. Full stop, right? Full stop. If Jaylen is maybe off that one night, well, they've got 4 other guys that kind of pick up the space, it's like,
right.
You can get other contributions. Oh, you got that Jaylen Brown. You got, Drew. You got Porzingis. Again, he's, I think, the big contribution in those first 2 games. Even Al Horford, right? You've got these other guys that kind of battle tested. So I think your point is very valid. I thought maybe they win 2 games. The one game, it made sense, maybe Boston's look a little ahead. They're up 3-0. And just, I wasn't kind of worried, like, especially after the first half. I was like, this is over. This is like, you and I were texting like this, especially when Pritchard hit that 3-pointer. I was like, oh, when you're
man, that seemed prophetic, because he hit it before, and then when he hit it again, I'm like, this is just the basketball gods are telling you.
Yeah, right.
They're giving you what they're thinking here. Exactly. They want the Celtics to win the championship this year.
Right.
And the basketball gods been saying it all year,
right?
And they just put a stamp on it with that Pritchard half court before halftime 3.
But yeah, right there with you.
So now, where do we go from here? Is Boston going to go on a run, become that dominating team that we know that they can be? You think that's a possibility?
I don't. I mean that's the thing because look at even we were saying the same thing about Denver, but if you look at, I mean, it's easier to come out of the East, right? If you had
Right.
told me they're in the West, it'd be a tougher road. But there's so many teams that are stacked because we don't know what Philadelphia's going to do. Milwaukee's, I mean, Giannis is he's gonna come terrorize now, right? So we don't know what Milwaukee's gonna do. Now Milwaukee's older. They've got to make some adjustments. We don't know what the Knicks are gonna do. I mean, Cleveland already has a good team. So what's the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell? Is he staying? Orlando's ascending. So it's not inconceivable. I mean, obviously you looked on they're already the favorite for next year to go back to the finals, obviously, for this team. So they don't have to change anything. They already have a great team. Their coach seasoned a year, right? He looks way more competent. Like, did you see when they went small at one point in that second half, and Dallas knocked off like just 8 straight points, and Ojo was not call a timeout. He called a timeout, switched that lineup, and so it's just like little things like that. So he's already maturing as a coach, obviously gotten better. So and with Jalen winning the MVP, does that put Tatum like a little carrot for Tatum? Go out.
It's
work,
interesting, man. It's interesting. I need to look at what Jason Tatum's stats were for this run here.
I think he was
thinking 22, like, was he bad?
No, he wasn't bad. I'm just saying 22. I think he was 22, 8 and 7 or something. And Brown was 21, like 7 and 5. Like the stats were very close to each other. But again, those guys were trading, baskets for wins, right? They were giving up.
I found something here.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do. Let's see. It looks like this is both finals going back from Golden. So this is his finals in general. This is all his finals runs here. So 16, 18, 31, 15, 31. So let's just go because it looks like they have them here in order. So 16, 11. Okay. So, one thing about these superstars, and I do think that when you're looking at the the upper echelon superstar category, depends on where you want to put a player like Jason Tatum at. I think that matters.
Yeah.
Because 16, no, it's just not going to get done for the superstar level, right?
No.
Point wise, it's not going to
get
the superstar level. But here's one thing that I do like about Tatum. I feel like he gets it done otherwise outside
other
of
places.
He is effective in every game he plays. He's effective. He does something. So in this game, he was 16, 11, and 5 with a block. He was 18, 9, and 12. So double, 31, 6, and 5. Then the only real game where I can say, man, that was a stinker was the one where they got blown out, right?
They got killed.
15, 5, and 3. There's nothing redeeming about that stat line. 15, 5, and 3 is horrible. So there's nothing redeeming there. Okay, I'll give you that. But the other
plus you're getting pulled, right?
You're getting pulled. Yeah, correct. I don't even know if they played the fourth quarter there.
They didn't play.
But you're doing other stuff in the other games to tell me that you were an effective player. And one of the things that Jason Tatum may not be that absolute superstar in the level of like a Luka or an Ant or somebody like that.
Right.
But I think that he is knocking right there because he's a winning player. Look at him. He's a winning guy. The guy wins games. And I feel like there's a lot of people who would make a trade for him right now. Like you talk about a Trae Young trade, I would take. Yeah, absolutely. you kidding me? I wouldn't take. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm taking that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that. Now let's go to our guy Jaylen Brown. Since you were just brought him up here and talking about his MVP, and if that gives Tatum, I don't think that it gives Tatum any more.
Maybe a little
motivation.
I'm not saying like he's gonna be like mad or gonna be like just Because I
Like
mean,
maybe because like Steph did. Remember Steph? Those finals that Steph didn't get
that's what I'm
didn't get
meaning.
that, and he felt like it was the last thing he needed was a Finals MVP to kind of cross off his greatness. Maybe in that sense, I think that if you really play the game, and I think the guys in that locker room know who they feel like the leader on that team is. I still think they feel like it's Jason Tatum, but as we talked about Jaylen Brown on this show before, it's a 1A, 1B. Jaylen Brown's a great player. He got paid $300 million for a reason. He's an excellent player. Talking about that on this show since he's been in the league. He's an excellent player. Also, a guy would trade for Trey. We're telling you that before. If that was ever a possibility, which it would never be.
It would never be.
Whatever it was, yeah, he'd be out. I would definitely do that. But here we are.
Yep.
I don't think that if people should be upset about this. I think this is very common. I think people probably would have been mad opposite. Like if Tatum had somehow pulled off winning this Finals MVP, people probably would have been more mad about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, because like I said, the final stats they were so close to one another. I mean,
yes.
I mean,
think consistency is what got JB through.
Yeah.
Consistency is what got him through.
Jaylen definitely, like I said, I mean, some of the defensive, again, you're not stopping Luka, but if you're making it harder for him to get his points, like we saw him do it, we saw Holiday do it. I mean, like sometimes you just saw more of Jaylen in moments. I'm not saying Tatum was not like he was a shadow, but maybe he had a little few more moments that you're gonna get. But again, I don't think anyone. Tatum, he doesn't care right now, right? He got a championship. That's all he wants.
Wow. You just have a championship.
You have a championship.
Care about, right?
And I gotta piggyback on what you said. It reminded me of how like he can be. That's the thing is he can be effective in other ways. I think it's the same thing about Jaylen, but even more with Tatum. Like even if he's not having an off night, he can rebound. He can play defense. Like he's not a liability. Like if Kyrie and Luka if they're not scoring, they are both defense liabilities. Jaylen, Tatum, both those guys, Jason Tatum and Jaylen, they're not. Like they could play other roles. And that's what I'm saying. It reminds me of that last year, that last Kobe, when Kobe won that championship, and he just had like that the game they won. Like he was having like probably one of his worst shooting nights, but he did like other things. He facilitated, he rebounded. Like it's like Tatum's already at that mindset. And he's not even I think he's 27 and he's or 25. He's like,
around there.
So he's already the mindset like, oh, I can't. He's not like he doesn't get out and say, oh, I should be scoring 30, 40 points. I'm off tonight, but my other teammates are having a good game. Let me impact the game.
And he's willing to do that. I think that he's paid the price for that.
Right.
Like him paying the price for being so willing is kind of similarly how LeBron paid the price when he first got into the league because he was such a pass first. He's playing the game the right way, trying to find the open guy. Mm-hmm. And people were like, hey, bro, you're like a freight train coming through there, man. Just go down and dunk on everybody. That's what everybody wanted to see. He was going and having 2 or 3 people collapse on him and passing out and making the right basketball play. And people kind of faulted him for that. And I think that that's kind of the same thing here with Jason Tatum because he's willing to do whatever it takes. And I like players like that. I think that's a good leadership quality. It doesn't always to be me scoring 40, 50 points every night. But you see that when the shot's not going, I'm out there getting rebounds. I'm buying us extra possessions. I'm getting my assist game on and get my other guys going. When I'm seeing 2 or 3 faces in front of me, I'm getting my other guys going. So I feel like that all matters. It all matters. And I feel like that is what makes him a great leader, despite the fact that people are going to just rail on everything they feel he doesn't do. All the times they feel he could have done better because you get a lot of that. Oh, he's just a superstar. He could have done better. He's overrated. Well, now he's got a championship.
Yeah.
Now you got that trophy, bro. And now you've been in the finals. You've been in the playoffs, 5 to 7 years. You got a championship within your first 7-ish years here on that Jordan pace. Jordan got that first chip. Not saying they're going to rip off 2 or 3 more, but I'm just saying, when you look at the pace, Jason Tatum is an excellent player and deserves everything that kind of comes with that. I came across an interesting article here, and let's see if I can get to it. All right. Lakers fans, jealousy claims Celtics won the easiest championship ever because of injuries.
Here we go.
Begin.
Here we go.
Let the hating begin. Now, when you get into these kind of situations where teams, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
Yep.
Those are the common factors in these games. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. How people describe those wins and losses is where all the fun happens, because that's where you get on both ends, and what people use to characterize the loss or characterize the win. When you just look on paper, it's just going to be a championship. The bubble championship was the bubble championship referred to as that to a lot of people as having some kind of less of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. It's a championship. And on paper, guess what it is? It's a championship. When they hang that banner doesn't, it's not a bubble banner. It's not a banner covered in bubble wrap that gets raised up into the rafters. It's an actual banner. So that's a way that this is going to look as well. Let's look through this a little bit here, though, because I feel like there's some tweets and stuff in here. All right. Let's look and see what we got. We'll check out a couple here.
There's the main one.
A Lakers fan. All right, let's go here. Let's look at it real quick. It says Celtics easiest championship ever. Heat without Jimmy Butler and Rozier. Cavs without Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. Pacers without Halliburton and they quit. Mavs with PJ Washington and Kleber. Okay. Before I let you kind of go here on this, I hate stuff like this.
Yeah,
I hate it only because in sports, when you look at, if Ray Allen doesn't make that shot, we're talking about a different situation. If Kawhi doesn't make that shot against Philly, maybe Joel Embiid is looked at differently than what he's looked at now. If Kawhi doesn't make that shot, it takes them into that next round. There's a lot of ifs in sports.
Right.
A lot of guys get injured in sports. When you looked at the Warriors, speaking of which, in that same, I want to say that exact same playoffs where it was Toronto was playing a Warriors team that didn't have KD and didn't have Clay. So that Warriors team, Clay and KD got injured.
Yeah.
Not the same Warriors team, obviously. But Toronto won the championship, right?
Yeah.
They won the championship. Like, what do you say to that? You beat a Mavs team that had PJ Washington and Kleber, but that same PJ Washington and Kleber beat 350 win teams.
Right. And we're amazing against Minnesota.
This is the same team, right?
Right.
The same Mavs team
Absolutely.
that went through all those people, right? So I can't give you that one. The Pacers without Halliburton, they were beating the Pacers with Halliburton.
Mm-hmm.
If Halliburton had never played this entire time, then maybe I get that one. But let's not forget, he was there, the first game or two? And I think they won both those games. So they won both the games that Halliburton did play. Cavs without Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, and the Heat without Jimmy Butler and Rozier. So these two are very easy to me. And you really can lump the Pacers in with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
This team was number one in the East. It's been beating all these teams all year.
Right.
They didn't just start beating these teams. They've been beating these teams. They've lost, I think their whole entire record was like 81 and like 21 or 80 and 21.
80 and 21.
All the games.
Mm-hmm.
80 and 21 with all the games. That's counting the 2 or 3 they lost in the finals, right? And counting the 17, 18-ish or so that they lost in the regular season.
Yeah.
I have to go back and see what that actual record was. But I know it's about 2021 total. So you said 80 and 21?
Uh-huh.
Roughly 80%. Roughly 80% winning percentage. It's not enough for some of these people, Eugene, right? They're thinking, hey, well, if it wasn't for, and then ignore the other 82 games that were played. And that dominant, and Boston's been dominant since December.
Yeah.
Boston's been dominant since December.
They were the number one seed.
Beating teams down,
right.
Beating teams by 20-point margins. They've been doing this all year, but they get to the finals and people want to say, it was just so easy for them. They just had a cakewalk. They were beating teams down. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. It just, jealousy. It's a lot. That's all it is. And yes, you're right. Yes, they did have an easy, but it's not like they called up to Miami. Hey, can you guys get injured for us so we can play you? Cool. Hey, the Cavs. Can Donovan Mitchell get cool? I could get it if they were like a number 6 seed, and they came in with the same team, but so many guys are injured. It's like okay, and then you get a number 6 seed. They steamroll the whole East, and it's kind of the same situation. but they were the number one team for the whole season. They were 15 games above the next team below them, and the number 2 was 15 games below them. So
Right.
I just can't buy that. Like, they were beating teams. Now, again, did they have some hiccup games during the season? Of course. I mean, if you're 15, if your closest person next to you is a second seed or 15 games behind you, you're going to have some memory lapse games, right? And so they had those
Right.
games. But when it came to the playoffs, it was very, very few and far between. So I can't buy that as an excuse. And I mean, I know people will look back on history, but I mean, they were just a dominant team. They were the team that's like, okay, like you said, I think maybe before the season started, you're like, it's Boston. And if they lose, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you're like, it's a problem because they should not lose anybody. And they didn't lose anybody. And I don't
because of their record and on paper, they were so much better all throughout the year that in theory they should be beating these teams. Now, I originally thought that whoever got out of the Minnesota Denver series would be the winner of the entire thing. But you know, one of the things I didn't take into, and one of the things I wasn't thinking about, I should say, because I didn't know at the time when I was really picking Minnesota or Denver to win the whole thing, was that KP would be coming back at all. You didn't know really about his injury.
Right.
So I felt that with Porzingis on that team, I've been telling you this too, that I felt like it was it was going to be too much. He was going to be like that. What puts that team over, in my opinion. You can't have KP out there, just too much to have to deal with. And you know what's interesting is I went through ranking the easiest finals. Let's go back here just for the audience, since that was there. I said, you know what? Well, let's go to here. It's ranking the easiest NBA title since 2010. Just going on based on winning percentage. I think a lot of that is. Let's go here. 2010 Los Angeles Lakers. That's what Kobe's Lakers. And it looks like opponent winning percentage was 63%. Okay. Opponent average seed 5. All right. Milwaukee Bucks 2021. 62% on the win percentage, average seed 3.75, pretty nice. 2015 Golden State Warriors. Was this the one where they were missing? I think they got injured. Golden State got there, and I want to say that this is the one where Kevin Love and Kyrie got injured. I don't think they played in this finals. So that's a solid argument there. 0.64. 64% on the win percentage and average seed 4.25 for 2013 Miami Heat. LeBron's got a couple of teams on here. Opponent average winning percentage 0.58, 4.5 on the opponent average seed. All right. 3, the bubble Lakers.
Yeah.
For Los Angeles fans who feel some kind of way, there you are. You are definitely on this list. 0.58, opponent average seed 5. 2 is the 2024 Boston Celtics, a 0.58. Let me look at that winning percentage. 0.58 winning percentage. I'm going to scroll back here a little bit. 0.58. That's number 3. 0.58. That's what, number 4? 0.64. That's number 5. So those top few teams, that 0.58 is for the top few teams. It looks like there. 0.63. The bottom teams are in the 0.62. All right. So let's go back up here. All right. So number 2, they do have the Boston Celtics here and 5.75. And I think that one of the things is another thing about this as well, though, is that they were just been so dominant. If you want to say that them just having an easier path is just how much more dominant they look than other teams, Porzingis and Drew Holiday, they look so much better than all the other teams that I don't know how they win. Like some of these teams aren't as good because they were beat by Boston earlier. so it's gonna cut into your winning percentage if you're losing to us. I'm just gonna put that out there. Denver Nuggets 2023 0.53, opponent average seed 6.75. That's pretty crazy, right? That's close to about 7 on opponent average seed. Interesting. So they have the Nuggets here at the number 1. What are your thoughts here on just all of the talk, the fans saying, hey, you know, if it wasn't for fill in the blank, they wouldn't have won anything.
They're not watching the games. They're looking at box scores. They're just looking. I mean, because if you're not watching the way this team played through the playoffs. Now, granted, I didn't watch them a lot this year. I watched them a few times and go, "Oh, they're the best team in the East. If they lose, it's on them." Because I didn't have to watch this team a lot. I mean, I think I watched a few games like in the Indiana series, but you didn't
Right.
have to watch this team a lot to know that they're the best team. Now, I watched all the finals games, and guess what? They're the best team. And so again, I just want people to write this stuff. Yeah, okay, great. But if you even last year that Denver game, that Denver series, if you watched again, they beat the Lakers, yes, handily. But if you watch that series, the Lakers gave them not only this past season, but the season they went to won the championship. Like it was a tough out. Like
Right.
so, yeah, Indiana was probably their toughest out, but it was just because Indiana could match them scoring wise. It's just that Indiana could play a lick of defense. Maybe they could have like had maybe one or two, maybe pushed it to 6 games or 5 or 7 games. But it's just it's when people write that, I feel like they're not watching the actual games. That's my honest opinion on that.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. If it wasn't for Boston just having such a tremendous record and literally losing 20, 21 games this entire year, going back to when does the basketball season start? Like in October?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to go back about 9 months, roughly 9-10 months. And in that 9 to 10 month span, they've lost 20 games, 21 games total.
21 games.
I don't think that's a fluke. I think it's hard to win in these professional sports leagues, and I don't take it for granted when teams do and just have fans just saying whatever. One of the things I wanted to kind of bring up here and kind of close the show out with is looking at revenues, and these are revenues from past years, the 22-23 rest, but not that far off. It's like just like 1 year past.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go here. It's 1 year past 22-23 revenue. Let's go full screen here. All right. Now, let me tell you what struck me here as being very interesting. And when I look at this list, and this is just money, I guess, that they made. Now, the Golden State Warriors, number one, worth, the number one amount in the league. So it's no surprise that they would be at the top of this list. And like I said, too, this is a year, 1 calendar year off. So maybe there's some fluctuation here, but it's usually not vastly different. Golden State's been the most valuable team for a while now, overtaking the Knicks a while back. But the interesting part to me is looking at who was in this year's playoff and go to the bottom of the list. We look at the bottom of this list here. The Pacers, the Pelicans, the
Magic,
and the Timberwolves, and OKC. Let's put OKC right here. So when you look at the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, 5 of the bottom 6 payrolls in 2022-2023 season were in the playoffs in the 2023-24 season. And that was intriguing me. I'm like, that's because from what I hear, Golden State's about to really roll out the Brinks truck to pay that luxury tax. And it's incredible because with those luxury tax, you have to be careful with that because you get caught paying for past results. You're paying pretty much for those championships that you already won,
right?
Versus paying to win future championships. And you're just kind of hoping at this point because that team's gotten super expensive,
right?
And they're not really worth it. Are there any surprises that jump out to you when you look at the revenue list here for 2022-23?
No, and then if you look, even like Memphis had the down year last year. Obviously, all the things are happening there, but I mean they're going to be in that mix next year, right? With everyone coming back for their team. So no, it's kind of where you thought it would be. If I'm looking,
Detroit's not helping this, right? Like they suck.
Oh,
so
well,
it's not helping. They're not holding it down for the bottom.
No,
the bottom 10 here,
and paying Monty Williams a lot of money to be at the bottom of this list isn't where you want to be. Again, I know he wasn't there last year, but I mean when this list came out, I mean sorry, this 2022-2023 list, but it's like still, it's like, man, that's a lot of money to be at the bottom and not get a high draft pick this year. So no, I mean if you're looking at, I'm not surprised. All those are kind of top market teams. Those 2, 4, 6, those top 2 lists. So yeah, no surprise here.
Yeah, and maybe this is we'll kind of close out on this. Like maybe this is a situation where you don't have to spend all your money, guys. You know what I mean? Like maybe we're kind of coming to the day and age where it's just not necessary for you to spend all your money. You can spend sensibly, I guess. I got to look and see what some of these teams are doing. But it's possible to spend sensibly. And you would think that all the guys here in the top 10 would be all of the championship teams, but it shows you a good mix because you got some here in the top, right? These top two, the number 4 and 5 on this list were in this year's finals.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not like they were the 6th seed. Like this, the number 4 on the list, Boston's definitely the highest seed, but Dallas was not. And the highest seed is way down here at OKC.
Yeah,
the
they're the number 5 seed.
It's interesting to see these teams down here kind of intermingling with this teams up here. You know what I mean? We got our couple, of course, our championship team here. Last year's championship team here is somewhere in the center, close to the center there. Yeah. So you don't have to spend everything to win. And you can argue, depending on what happens with the Warriors next year with that luxury tax number they have, that spending this much could actually hamstring your winning. So maybe we should do an episode on that one day. I know we talked about the correlation between money in the NFL, spending money in championships. And it's not always what you think it would be. But it's interesting to look here in the NBA and see that you can't just always buy championships. You know, and the more money you're spending, then sometimes the harder it is, unless you got a Boston kind of situation where you can lock down 4 borderline all-stars. You can lock down KP, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. You know, you can lock down a 4 like that. You know, that's what the Warriors had. All right, the Warriors had that at one point. Man.
They did, and now you're right, and now they're going to be in a tough decision with the whole Klay Thompson thing. That's going to be interesting.
What do they do there? They re-sign him? They let him go? What do they do?
I don't know, but I'm telling you right now, if it's first, just I'll answer that question. But side note, I don't care about any player removing themselves from social media on their teams. I don't care.
No, come on, man.
Can we stop?
Come on,
can we stop it?
Stop it. Stop it. It's a canary in the coal mine to some people. To other people, it's just a tactic. Yes. I did hear some athletes say they don't want to see sports on their timeline. They're trying to get away from it. So I do believe that some of them are using it as a tool to kind of press the team, and some of them are genuinely wanting not to live in basketball land or football land or whatever their sport is land their entire life during the offseason, especially if you're the person talking about getting traded. Why do you want to read your own storylines about you getting traded semi-daily and you're not going to have any resolution until it actually happens? So why would you want that on your timeline or your feed or whatever if you're a social media person? So I'm not reading a ton into that either. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what kind of money he's looking for because I just don't think it's out there.
Yeah.
Whatever before I even say what it is, whatever money he's looking for, it's not out there.
Well, there'll be teams. So there'll be teams that will overspend for him, but it's going to be.
What is the overspend? What is that amount per year? You give him 150 million? Or you what do you do?
I think if he comes back to Golden State, it's gonna be like a Draymond thing, right? He'll take less money but take more years. I think that'll be the thing. So, but if he wants the money, then there's gonna be like a team out like Orlando or. Like Orlando's a great, you watch that series, like they're missing a shooter.
Yeah, man. And Orlando's kind of ahead of the schedule, in my opinion. Yeah. Man. They were here in the playoffs this season. So they just drafted the kid, Paolo, not too long ago. So things seem to be going pretty good for them.
Yeah. And it all depends on what Golden State wants. So if Golden State brings him back, it's a sign that they're not winning any more championships. They're just.
Do you think just based on that alone, just based on bringing back Klay, they're not winning a championship? Because I think it's still possible. Like if he comes off the bench or something, right?
Maybe, but what if you're signing him for that money, the Draymond or the money,
I got to see what the money is because it's these are definitely you signing guys with extremely diminishing returns that are not named Steph Curry. You're getting diminished returns on these guys.
And maybe it's that thing. You're like, hey, we're gonna ride out with these 3 guys that brought us the championship.
Dance with the one that brung you, man. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, you have fun the rest of the years when they're there. Maybe you're making the playing games. Maybe you're sneaking into that 6th seed, right? You get lucky, maybe, but the old guards are gone. Like you're just the Lakers, Golden State, Phoenix, they don't have the firepower to match with OKC. Dallas is going to be next year. With even the Clippers. The Clippers are still up above those teams, right? So,
right.
And then you got Minnesota. You got those teams, and then let's not forget Memphis is going to be back. They're going to be good. So I just don't think you're going to be. You can't be. I mean, again, we know free agency could be different. They could do different things, but it just. I mean, I'm going to be fascinated to see what they decide to do. And again, if they bring back Klay Thompson and they're like, hey, we're just going to bring it back, and if we get lucky, great. We know what we are. You can't be mad at them, right? You got 4 championships with that team. Let them ride. I would like it just as a sports romantic, and as I think you are as well. Is like, how many times do we see guys leave for other teams? This looks weird from them wearing another jersey.
Yeah, man, it's
I
strange.
would just like to see the
it
three of those
seems
guys.
to happen to everybody, though.
Right?
My goodness, it seems like when you think about our life and go think about the greats, it's really rarer for the greats to stay with their team. When I think about it, there aren't a lot of Kobe Bryant type stories out there.
No.
Michael went somewhere else. If you go to football, Brady went somewhere else. Montana went somewhere else. LeBron's gone somewhere else. Maybe we get to a situation like maybe Tatum stays, but you really don't know how long guys are gonna be with their teams till you get to the end of their situation, especially when they're good. When they're good, it does no good to look into their first year or two of their contract if they're gonna just try to project that out for the rest of their career.
Right.
It's when they get to these stages, when they get to a stage where they've seen a lot of you and they don't really want to pay you the money you feel you're worth, but another team that likes the name enough to feel like, hey, well, we'll pay partly for the name. And we'll pay, and hopefully the guy can be who we thought he was. They overpay to get you there. And the guy runs and chases the money somewhere else, which I don't really blame you for doing. Once you've already won championships, why not? You've already won chips now. You can kind of just go do whatever.
Right.
But I feel like those are the situations a lot of times where guys end up leaving. And I'm really trying to rack my brain and think of guys who just stayed with their team the entirety of their career.
Tim Duncan, still kind of one that pops right to my mind. Right, he's the only kind of
Duncan stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan stayed.
Yeah.
What other guys are just like stars, man, that have just stayed?
I'd still count Jordan because
Kareem didn't play for one team though. He stayed with the Lakers, but he didn't play. He played for the Milwaukee as well.
But he was drafted by Milwaukee, so I mean, and he kind of went to them like, "Look, if you don't trade me, I'm leaving." So he kind of told them right away. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. The demanded that trade and got out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we got Tim Duncan, we got Kobe Bryant. These are 2 players that have never played for another team.
Yeah.
Right. But are also stars.
Also stars. Larry Bird is another one. Magic Johnson.
Larry, Magic. But the thing about Larry and Magic that I want to say at least would definitely, well, maybe both of these guys, is their careers both kind of ended a little bit earlier than the careers that have ended of today.
True.
I think Larry had his back issues.
Yeah.
So, and then Magic, of course, had the HIV situation. Now, if the careers, and I want to say their careers, 10, 12-ish years, maybe for those guys? I got to go back and look and see.
Yeah.
Maybe a decade-ish or so out of those guys. 12 years, whereas you got these other guys playing 16, 17, maybe 4. If you add another 4 or 5 years, I'm not saying that they would have left their teams, but I'm saying if you add another 4 or 5 years on to where they were at, because I think if you look at a lot of guys where they retired, if Jordan chose not to go to another team, he probably could have had it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where he just leaves Chicago, rides off into the sunset, played for one team his entire career. But it's interesting. And we'll see what happens here with the Klay.
Yeah.
With the Klay situation, but only because I don't know what he has left. I don't know. I don't know. And overpaying for it is not going to get you. It's not how you do it in today's NBA.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That's the thing. If he goes anywhere else, someone will overpay him and say, hey, be our third, be our fourth guy, be that corner 3-point shooter. Boom. But if you want to be, again, the romantic in me, I know, and you just would love to see those guys just ride up the sunset together.
All 3 of them just ride out together. All the 3 of them retire on the same day.
I just think that would be, I think it'd be great. I just it's like, I just don't, yes, you can go somewhere else and get max money, but I don't know. I'd love for him to stay there. I know his dad's been trying to talk to him, like tell him like, hey, you may get more money somewhere else. You may be able to do these, but they're going to put you in a corner and make you do this. Do you want to be the next Ray Allen, or do you kind of want to have a little more offensive freedom with where you're at? So I think that's going to be his dilemma. And here I'm not going to be mad at him if they throw a large sum of money at him, but if it's like,
you take him in Atlanta,
it just depends on. We have so many holes.
At what number? What's the number that you would take them?
We
never answered that earlier. Like, what's the money where did you get into restrictive money? You know what I mean? Is it 100, 150 million? Is it the 30, 40 million dollars a year? Where do you start to get to where the money's restrictive for you? You feel like, I don't know.
Well, he can get that. I think he can get that 140, 150, like on the open market, right? I don't think that's the issue. Here we just have so many. The issue was we have shooters. That's not our issue. We need more we need defensive wing guys. I don't think he's not a piece that if we brought him in, this is going to be taking us to the next level. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have him. It'd be great to get have a jersey
18-3-2 this year.
Yeah. So
18-3-2.
Yeah, I think we have more holes, and we need to look at either trading Trey and DeJounte, both or one, and seeing how we can get some of these draft picks back. That's what we really got to be looking at.
Man, goodness gracious, man. I kind of want to leave things as is right now and kind of just ride it out, see what happens with the team, only because I don't know. I feel like if our ceiling was just tremendous, then maybe I would feel differently. But I feel like we already aren't good. So what's the harm in seeing how good we are with the team that we construct with these new draft picks and stuff that we bring in here, just to see how these guys look? Because not like I'm expecting them to rip off 50 wins anyway.
Well, the issue is we don't have our 2025 draft pick. And so you don't want to kind of throw away the season if San Antonio is going to get that pick. And then, I
don't think we're going to be able to help but throw it away. I just don't think we're going to be good.
Right. But I don't want to say, okay, we're like one of the worst seeds. And here you go, San Antonio. Here's another good draft pick. Oh, by the way, this next class is going to be awesome. So here we go. You guys were mediocre. It's okay. Like, let's just say San Antonio makes it in the playing game. So they have a great season or whatever. They have a low draft pick, but lo and behold, the Hawks are terrible, and they already have our draft pick. So they have 2 top picks in the next year's draft, which is supposed to be is already projected to be much better in this draft. So,
it's interesting because what a depressing state when we haven't even entered this year's draft, and we're talking about trying to position for next year's draft. Man, Eugene, that's depressing. That's depressing. We haven't even we're the ink is just getting dry on this season. Mr. Morton's talking about the 2025 draft, trying to see who's going to come out of there. I guess I'm just waiting and see.
Yeah.
Wait and see. See who we get in this draft, see how they gel. You never know. A lot of these people will say how bad a draft is, but then you look back and see how really bad it was. So we'll really see later. We really won't know how bad this draft was for a couple of years from now, but at least we'll have a little bit more of an idea a year from now. Once they've actually played.
Yeah.
We'll know how bad the class really was, because some of these classes they say were so good, and when it really was so good was one guy at the top and a bunch of trash after that, or maybe like a really good draft and they get like 3 guys out of it. So we'll see how good or bad this draft is, I guess, once it's all done, and we'll do some more shows before then. Anything else you want to add to that? Last word for you, Mr. Morton. Anything else you want to add?
I am done. Let's wrap it up.
This is Just a Stat. Check us out at iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. See you next time, ladies and gents. All right, man.
Do you a little Boston there at the end? Check out podcasts. little Boston accent.
That's what I should have turned it up. Turned it up for the people. Show them my support for the team.